Hello, I'm Don Mitchell. Welcome back to another video about the 2000% solution, the process that enables you to accomplish at least 20 times more with the same or less time, effort, and resources. And of course, that means that you can have both more accomplished in a given week, as well as have more time to do the things you love to do, as well as have more time to be loving and kind to those you care about. Anyway, so let's dive in. Our topic today moves into a new area. We're into part two of the 2000% solution, in which we present an 8-step process. The 8-step process is one that, if you follow step by step, enables you to develop and implement a 2000% solution. So the first step is one that mostly about changing a mindset, actually learning something. So in a sense, it's going to be sort of like a stall buster for some of those stalls that we heard about in the first step, particularly that last one, that really nasty procrastination stall. So this is about chapter 9, understand the importance of measuring performance. Okay, so what do I mean by measuring performance before I talk about understanding that? Well, what I simply mean is looking at what are the quantitative measures of the output, the results, the impacts on other people, whether they be yourself, the people you intend to serve, or the people you didn't intend to bother, but you bothered really anyway. Okay, so let's now, and then why is it important to understand that? Well, if you don't understand what the effects are of what you're doing, you won't be doing the most effective things. I had dinner last night with one of my students, and he was asking me about this point, and I gave him an example of how measurement had really helped my firm, Mitchell and Company, many years ago. We had us especially doing a very complex kind of analysis and data gathering. And it took months to do. It was very expensive and took a lot of effort. And in the course of doing this work, about 40% of it was involved in putting together a long report that had a lot of information in it. So after I've been doing this for a number of years, I hired someone to talk to our clients and say, what do they like, what do they not like about our services? How do they use our services? Well, one of the big surprises for me that came back was everyone said they never looked at this report. Now, if that was true, then we could really speed up this process quite a lot. We could take a lot of cost out of the process, and we could actually increase profits while charging less. So this sounded like a good deal. So we made the change, and I waited for somebody to squeal and say, where's the report that supports all of these conclusions? Nobody ever said a word. So we've been wasting all of that time. And so we could have improved our performance had we measured its impact on our clients much sooner. Okay, so that's a simple example to let you know that I'm as guilty of this as everyone else. But I wanted to focus on today on the importance of understanding the implications of not taking action. Now, that's probably something you don't spend a lot of time doing, but it's a natural follow-on to the procrastination stall rather. So one of the things that I'm going to talk about here is what is it that you put off doing, and what were the costs of putting off those things? All right. So in my case, I knew about writing the 2000% solution, those ideas, many years before I wrote about it. I never intended to write about it. Peter Drucker, the guru who founded the discipline of management, was consulting for our firm, and he recommended we write a book. I said, well, that's crazy. Why would we write a book? I mean, there's no reason to do that. I knew it was not going to be an economic activity, but what I was forgetting was that if we didn't share this methodology, it would be lost. In fact, Peter's argument that eventually got our attention, he says, well, look, if you don't teach people how to do this, it might be 50 years or more before somebody else identifies this method. and think of all the people who could have improved their lives if they did that. Well, that was a wonderful observation by him, because as I thought about this, I said, well, that's right. It doesn't matter whether I tell anybody else in terms of the benefits I receive from it or the people I serve receive, but it has a huge impact in terms of the benefits that other people know. So I still kind of dawdled. I definitely did procrastinate because I really didn't know how to write a book, and I didn't really want to do it, and I was a busy guy. So probably the book got written 4 years later than it would otherwise. Well, one of the major applications of this book has been by people involved in relief activities, such as those serving war-torn areas, trying to get essential medicine and food to people in those areas who desperately need it. Another has been people in famine areas getting food to them. Another has been in Civil War areas where, peacekeepers are involved. And in fact, one very important implication has been in removing mines that have been left uh, behind by hostilities. So that these mines, instead of killing people or maiming them, just get removed and taken away. So to make a long story short, that delay of 4 years probably meant that thousands of people got blown up by mines, and probably tens of thousands of people starved. Now, I feel terrible about that. And I'm very sorry, obviously, I did, and I've obviously repented that in many ways. But similarly, you may have some important tasks that you have been putting off, and such as learning how to create your first 2000% solution that might have even greater negative consequences. And so, unless you start thinking about the implications of the decisions you make, both in terms of the positive side as well as the negative side, I think that you are going to be in a situation whereby you are going to be making major mistakes in terms of how you allocate your time. And so, one in particular implication here that I think is very, very important in terms of what to measure is how you spend your time. And if you have never done that, you are long overdue, my friend, for doing so. And it's best to do it over 2 weeks that are pretty typical weeks. In other words, don't do this when you're on vacation someplace, but do this when you're doing your regular activities at work, at home, wherever else you are engaged. And when you're done with the 2 weeks, then add up all of the details of what you did, both at work, how much in meetings, how much on the telephone, how much writing, answering emails, whatever it might have been, uh, how much time running errands, getting gas in your car, whatever it might be, and look at what the impacts of those things are on people. And I think what you're mostly going to notice is a very tiny portion of the time you spend is having a significant positive impact on anybody else. Well, obviously, then you're a good candidate for trying to find ways to increase the amount of time that you could do that. And in the book 2000% Living, we talk in more detail about how to do that. But for now, I would like to give you a challenge. And the challenge is for you to change your time allocation after measuring things for 2 weeks, such that not only will you increase the amount of time you spend on things that have a positive impact on other people, but the total impact that you have on other people will increase in a positive way by at least 20 times. So you can do that either by positively impacting 20 times more people, or you can do that by uh, impacting people much more. So, in other words, you might only impact one more person, but you might impact them 20 times more than all the people you impact now, or some combination. In other words, you might only impact 5 times more people, but you might increase the impact by 4 times, something like that. So, as long as the total impact is going up by 20 times, then you've sort of done it. So, even before you really learn the other 7 of the 8 steps in the 2000% solution process, you can use measuring your own performance in doing positive things for other people to make a 20 times improvement in the contribution of your life. Now, isn't that awesome? And you can do that. The only thing you have to do is you have to hesitate to procrastinate about keeping track for these 2 weeks. Now, in the course of doing this, break things down into whatever number of categories you want. In other words, if you take long showers, maybe you want to put showers down as one of your activities. But if you also think while you're in the shower, then you could put down showering and thinking, so you have that as a category. And, if you're commuting, you're driving to and from work, then you put that down. But if you also listen to tapes or CDs or, messages on your radio that teach you things, then you could put that down as learning time as well. So you could keep that as commuting and learning, whatever it might be. Notice most of these dual categories, although they enable you to be more efficient at what you do, they may teach you something that can make you more effective. Unless you apply them to actually impact somebody's life, you haven't really become more effective. So the challenge I'm giving you is to go out and become more effective. And to be more effective, you have to measure that by your impact on other people. Now, if you don't yet know what your impact is on other people, in the way that I didn't fully understand how people were using that report, then you need to figure that out. And people will tell you, if you just ask them politely, if you think that they would be more honest if an intermediary did, then find someone who will be willing to play that role and gather that information for you, as I did. Because people like to please you, particularly if you have been trying to do a good job for them. So they're going to tend to say something positive, regardless. If, for example, I just recently finished teaching sort of a test course based on my next book called Disciple, and in this course, one of the questions I asked people was, how did this, change your relationship of your spiritual life with God? And sort of based on that, I got a lot of insights into what the impact of that course had been. Now, if I hadn't asked that question, I just said, did you like the course? Was it a good course? Things like that. I would have learned things that, would have made the course probably better, but I have had no impact whatsoever on its effectiveness, on its impact on people's lives. So be sure that whenever you're doing your measurements emphasize the impact on people's lives, because we're all in this together. We're all here to help one another. We're all here to look out for one another. We're all here to love one another, and we're all here to kind of see if we can be there and support people, particularly in the tough times, because we all have tough times. I've had my tough times. I'm sure you have too, and I'm sure we aren't done having those tough times. I'm sure there's still some really ahead of us. So, but if you're moving forward in this way, and you do this year in, year out, over a period of several years, you're going to be astonished what the impact will be. For example, I'll tell a story about a man I've been working with in Africa. I had the opportunity to teach at a conference that he organized in 2016. And as a result of that conference, he took on the commitment to teach other pastors the results of the course. And although I don't get all of the details, my impression is from the details he sent me that he has now taught this course to hundreds of pastors. And he, of course, is applying this in his own work as a pastor. And he continues to do that now, assuming at least some of those people also teach to other pastors who are in those areas. And we have a situation where even if there are only 10 people in these small African churches, we've probably touched thousands of lives. And if those thousands of lives are different and they impact other people, really within a short period of time, there may be tens or even hundreds of thousands of people affected. And if this one man continues to do this, let's say for 10 years, he probably will potentially, his efforts will have had a yield of millions of people being affected in a positive way. And what a great, wonderful thing that is. And we should praise God for making that possible. So I leave you with that hopefully inspiring example of what you can do if you start by measuring your time and your effectiveness, and then change your allocation so your effectiveness immediately starts being 20 times greater. So goodbye for now. Talk to you again soon.